Well, hi, my name is Anise. I'm VP of Communications for Ideas Student Society, and the club as a whole is going to present this video on how to build a great resume and CV. First, if you're new to Ideas, here's how you join. You can use your phone to scan the QR code or visit our website at ideas@asu.org. Okay, so what are we going to be learning today? We're going to cover the topics of what is a resume, what's a resume versus a CV, what should you know before making a resume, and then giving you some resume writing tips. First, resume versus CV. So a lot of people assume like a resume and CV are the same thing, but they are absolutely not, and they have different purposes depending on what type of jobs you want to apply for. A CV is very long, very extensive, and it has all the work you've ever done. And it's mainly for if you want to go into academia or if you're applying to like a specific professional field. And it's for people who, it's like if you're applying for like an exec position or a leadership position, you would give your CV, which has all your projects, everything you've ever done, all of your work experience. You don't want to send a CV unless the job says you should do a CV. And also unless you're applying to research and academic jobs, then you automatically send a CV. Other than that, you want to make sure the job description says to do so. Now let's look at an example of a good CV done by our president, Kristen Crick.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So give me 1 second. So I actually had the lovely experience of going through and applying for jobs recently. I specifically wanted to work in academia. I knew I wanted to work in a research lab. So yeah, they definitely want to see your CV. They want to see like everything that you've had your hands on in the last X number of years where you have been in college, basically. So you can see here, I included first and foremost all of my college education. Usually in like a resume, or you know how you might have like an objective section saying like what you kind of want to get out of in a specific job. But here I added a research interest because I have very specific research interests. I knew I wanted to find a job looking at the interactions between microbiome and immune health. So I made sure to actually highlight that on my resume or my CV. So when they open up my CV and they look at it, it's right on the front page, right underneath my education. They know I'm serious about a specific area of research. You might also notice that I use a little bit of color, not too much color. I don't get like too fancy and creative with it, but it will help each section kind of pop if you use a different color to label each section. And also I did that caps lock format option so that they're all capital letters. So after my education, I included research experience. And you want to make sure that this is very easy to read because they're not going to want to sit and like read a novel. You know, if your font is too small or if it's too squished together or if you have too many words, it's going to make it hard for them to sift through, especially CVs are so much information, right? So we want to make it as easy as possible for them to see what you've actually done. So you're going to want to list this in chronological order from most recent, and then go backwards. You can see I actually made the labs in bold so that they can see right away, oh, you know, she worked in this person's lab, or she was part of this research program at her school. And I would include mentor also. And very similar to a resume, you want to use bullet points and use strong verbs, basically, to kind of showcase the different things that you did while you were part of this position. So I went through this chronological backwards. If you happen to have publications, you'd probably want to throw this in next, or poster presentations, any speaking events that you've been to. You're going to want to include all of that on your CV. And, you know, even if you don't have a like official poster presentation or official speaking opportunity, start like looking through your classes. I know I didn't include it on here, but in functional genomics at ASU anyway, you give a poster presentation at the end of the class. Now there's no awards or anything for this, but actually including this on your CV would count as you conducting some research through a class and then presenting it. So with a CV, you really want to think about all of these little details that went into giving you the abilities that you have. Also, teaching and mentoring experience. So once again, this kind of goes into all the experiences that have given you sort of a foundation of where you are as a researcher, where you want to be in academia. You want to include that. So if you have an ATA experience, if you have any mentoring experience throughout your undergraduate career, you're going to want to include that. And once again, you're going to summarize in like one line short. They're not sentences, they're like fragments, but that just kind of give a holistic view of everything that you've done. Very short and to the point and easy to read. If you've been part of any clubs, I'm president of Ideas, but you know, at any capacity, even just being a member who helps out occasionally, any volunteer events that you've taken part of. I mean, even if you didn't run them yourself, if you participated, you should definitely include that because that's going to add more substance to your CV. I am actually a mother. I have 3 kids. And I think sometimes as moms, we kind of disregard a lot of the experience we get as moms, but put that on there too. I mean, it can help out if you have the right audience. So, I mean, also be careful and know your audience. And if you're applying to a job where, you know, there is still some bias against, especially having young children. So for this was kind of hit or miss for me, but when people did actually know the work that goes into raising children, homeschooling, on top of everything else that I did, they were kind of blown away. So definitely, you know, hit or miss, consider adding that or not adding it, but I found it was beneficial in landing a really good position. Technical skills. Now, even if you have not had the opportunity to actually like be in a lab, think about things that you have any experience doing, whether it's shadowing, as long as you would actually be able to do these skills. You don't just want to list skills that you've like heard of or like watched a video on. You would want actual shadowing, hands-on kind of experience with them. And then, you know, anything else, organizations that you've been part of, languages that you know. Our coding is a language, quote unquote. So definitely include that, especially coding has become really important in a lot of research jobs in general. So, I mean, even if you just want to like go on to, there's a bunch of like online courses like Coursera, something, I forget what the website is right now, but like you can go on, get certified for free, or even just take a couple courses, watch some videos and do some tutorials, anything that would kind of like add to your CV and just make it a stronger CV. Yeah, and then any awards or scholarships that you happen to earn while you're in your college education.
All right, so a lot of people's misconceptions are that resumes are supposed to be bright and decorative in order to stand out from other applicants, but in actuality, that's just going to hurt you. Recruiters want very minimalist, simple themes. Like Kristen said, you can still add some color, and I'll show you on my resume where I do, but this, you know, yellow right here and this bright green, no, you don't want that. And you also want to add bolding and to highlight sections, but you don't want to use like decorative fonts or anything because it's difficult to read. It hurts their eyes. Think about it, like they get thousands of resumes they may have to look at. Do you want to look at this over and over and over and over again? So let's see a mostly good resume. Resume should be 1 to 2 pages. As you can see, this one is only 1 page. Recruiters only spend about like 6-8 seconds looking at a resume, and most of that is going to be looking at your work experience right here. So you want to cut to the point, get what you want them to see. It should be at the top of the page. And it follows a similar format to CVs, but as you can see, like they're way shorter. You tailor your resume to the job. So like this right here is my tutoring resume. Very, very different from my research resume, though they are similar. I include my degree because I am still a college student, so I would always put my bachelor's. The only time you would stop putting your education is if you've been in the workforce for like 5+ years, then you want to put your work experience at the top and education at the bottom. I do my tutoring because this is most important to the job, my tutoring experience. And I do relevant experience that I feel add to me as an applicant. The fact that like I also do research and I'm a barista. I keep track of inventory. I communicate to team members and stuff like that. I also put relevant courses. So I was going for math tutoring jobs. So I only put my math courses, even though I've taken multiple different courses. So what do you need to know before writing your resume? So again, every resume you submit for a job should be different. They're similar, but still different. You want to edit your resume so that it encompasses keywords that are in the job description, because most companies use a resume screening software and it doesn't even see a person. And if it doesn't have those keywords like communicates well or has empathy or something, it's just going to get thrown out and won't even like reach the recruiter. So here are some top resume mistakes. These percentages are completely made up. Not including keywords. Unprofessional emails. You want your email to be your first, last name or some variation of that. Typos. Read your resume, have other people read your resume. Not having your LinkedIn. So because we live in like the age of social media, if you have like a website that showcases your skills or a LinkedIn profile, you want to link those because recruiters will go to them and like get to know more about you and humanize you and then want to hire you. If you saw in my resume, one mistake, I didn't include my LinkedIn just because I was applying to like tutoring type jobs. When I apply for research jobs, I do include my LinkedIn as well as the Ideas website. Don't include references. This depends, but for the stage that we all are at, either like current students or recent graduates, you don't want to include your references for every single job. Wait till they ask you for your references, or there should be a different section in the application process for you to include your references. Mostly because this can be viewed as, like giving other people's information away unnecessarily. If you're like in academia and you're like 10+ years in, you're going to include references in your CVs and resumes because that's just automatically always going to be asked of you. Another issue is people skipping their skills section. Say what skills you have and be creative with it. Like I said, I worked at Starbucks, so I'm used to being in a fast-paced, high intensity or high stress environment. That's a skill of mine now, but even though it's just like a service job. So my best resume writing tips is don't use vague terms like detail-oriented or hard worker. Cite instances your skills benefited your team and your employer. Make your contact information prominent, have it at the very top. Use bullet points and use clean, job-appropriate templates to do your resume. And then the hardest thing about writing resumes is that sometimes it's just hard to know what to say. Be deliberate with the words that you use and the information you share. Ask yourself, what is this adding to my resume? And if you can't figure out what it's adding, it might be best to take out. And then here are some resources for you guys to look at to help with writing resumes and CVs. ASU's Career Center has, they'll look over your resume and CV for you if you want to schedule an appointment. They have websites for building one. We included resumenerd.com, which includes like a template where you just fill in the information and it'll give you a resume template all filled out. Don't just like take that and then apply to a job, like look it over, have other people look it over. But there are a lot of resources out there to build your CV and resume, as well as cover letter. So thank you guys for attending. Now you can turn off your mics and we can begin the workshop, but I'm going to stop recording first.